Dog, this is all you. You get to lead the podcast today. So what's going
The
on?
podcast, man. I'm glad I got a chance to finally get on the channel. I really
Yeah,
appreciate you letting me on the channel. This Chicago and Portland connection.
absolutely,
I
100%.
Yeah, I just wanted to hop on your live just to kind of compare with you different things you might run into when you're on the job, and then different things I might run into when I'm on the job, or let's just say duty. Um, and let's
Well,
just compare and see if
wait.
we.
Hang on. Let's do this first. All right. So just real quick, give everybody a brief introduction. Let them know who you are, what you do. Where you work. Kind of
Oh,
give
okay.
everybody a
That's
little.
oh yeah. That's
Yeah.
that's perfectly cool. I'm Combat Poppy 773. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, born and raised. I've been doing armed security for the past 2 years. I worked for multiple companies. Right now, I'm in the private sector, so I'm just uh, guarding houses, maybe some VIPs or something like that. My prior experience is that been in the military for about 6 years, 3 years reserve. The other 3 years was active. I was in the army, and I play a little bit of pro ball. So
Pro
I have a little
football,
bit of
or
knowledge, huh?
wait, you played pro football, or you?
I play a little pro basketball.
Okay.
I went to college on a scholarship and played in the army. And then when I got out the army, I went overseas to play a little bit. Then the pandemic hit, and then that's what happened. So,
That's
uh,
what's up,
kind
man.
of,
That's what's up. Good deal.
and that's why I was in Portland. I was actually coming back from a different country, and I had a layover over there. So that's why I was in Portland, just relaxing. It was pretty cool out there.
We hear a lot about Chicago, man. So you reached out to me probably last year,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I know you had some personal stuff that happened. So my condolences on that.
Yeah,
And I know that everybody says they're busy,
yeah.
but I'm glad that we finally had a chance to hop on here and do this, man. So I'm here. I got 30 minutes of time for you, and
Hey,
whatever you want to ask me, whatever you want to talk about, man, like I'm an open book. So I'm here to help, man. What's up?
yeah, I don't even need 30 minutes, maybe like half of that. But
Okay.
no, first of all, I'd like to thank you. I really appreciate it, man. When I stumbled into your channel, it really gave me some hope, more of confidence to really go into this profession, because this is actual profession. And if you take it serious enough, you can get a long way. And what people do not understand is that we're somewhat of a first responder, because we're the people that stands in between the chaos before the police get there. We're the ones
Absolutely.
that give the police the information so they can get an accurate description of the person or just the scenario that was going on. So a lot of people don't understand that security is it's a real crazy, complicated, tough job.
It really
And,
is. And I want to interject. I just met with three former police officers. One is a former Navy SEAL. The other works right now in trying to make sure I don't out anybody for what we're doing, but he works in active response in that
okay,
industry. Okay, but I think that this misconception of what security is, these guys collectively between the three of them probably have over 100 and some odd years of experience.
yeah,
They've worked in different aspects of law enforcement or the military all across the globe. They weren't in here looking at me in any less of a capacity than
yeah,
they did each other. My opinion, my outlook, what I was bringing to the conversation, to the table conversation was just as respected as the other cops that were sitting here. I think that when it comes to our profession,
hmm,
a lot of people that work in security, they don't have confidence in themselves.
yeah,
And if you don't have confidence in yourself, or you don't believe that you're worthy in and of itself, it doesn't matter if you're working in security, you're working at a bar, you're working as a jet mechanic, or you're a fucking pilot. If you're not confident in yourself, you're not confident in yourself. and people pick up on that. I had a story that I shared a couple years ago about, this beautiful woman that I met at a nightclub, went home with her, slept with her the first night, not trying to be crass or anything, but
Sorry.
the entire rest of the time that I was around this woman, I could not for the life of me understand why she would have picked me. So I just kept, at every instance, I kept saying, like, why are you with me? Why are you with me? You know, what did
Right.
I do to
Yeah.
deserve you? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it got to the
Yeah.
point where she was like, maybe I shouldn't have picked you. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's the same thing with
Validation. Yeah.
security. Like what you're saying is that people just, they're constantly feeling down about themselves if they're working in security. They don't feel like they're doing anything of value. And
Well, I
I
think they take that they really take that top flight security joke to extreme.
yeah,
Like, and that's what I think lowers a lot of people confidence when it comes to security. And they're just scared of hearing that, oh, you top flight or all this, and just to make it seem like their job is not important, which it is, because at the end of the day, the customers, the employees that you're securing, they are looking for it and hoping that you're doing your job to give them some safety while they're at work.
yeah, 100%. Somebody asked me the other day, why do you do security? Why aren't you a cop? And you've been following my channel long enough to know that I've had, multiple,
Multiple cops, yeah, yeah,
and man, back in December, I got offered a job with Port of Portland,
yeah. I saw that. Yeah, yeah,
and man, it was like I really wanted to jump, but at the same time, like here in Portland, people that work in retail settings or people that work in these grocery stores or
hmm
they work at nightclubs, anywhere where security is working. And I don't say this to be disparaging. I have to make sure I'm clear about that because I am working with a lot of cops.
yeah, yeah.
People that are people that are in the company that I work for now are cops. My business partner is a cop. The three guys that just left here are former cops. I don't say this to be disparaging against law enforcement, but for a lot of different reasons, the cops aren't responding. We can talk about the politics all day long. At the end of the day, the result is the cops aren't responding.
Yep.
And when they do respond, they're not doing anything.
Mm,
The people that are in my community, the people that are in your community, it's not those people's fault.
yeah.
Whatever the political situation is that's leading to the lack of response, it's not their fault. And I told this person, my wife could be in a grocery store or a mall or a club or a bar when that negative situation happens.
Uh
I
huh.
would want me to be there.
Yeah.
Your wife, your kids, your family members, the people that you care about, they deserve to have someone there to step in and be there in between the bad person and that person. So, man, like,
And
over.
I think that's what armed security has really, to be honest with you, and that's why I wanted to compare with you, because here in Chicago, all the police duties are basically on security now. And I remember taking this class, 2 years ago, and this was a guy who's a teacher for the Chicago Police Department Academy. Okay, CPD Academy. He's an instructor. I was taking a taser class, a taser baton class, and he specifically said, "You guys, you're the new police now, because they're only coming out to respond for small things. Let's just say maybe a robbery, maybe, but it has to be something serious. Well, I don't want to say like a murder or something small, but it has to be something serious, serious. So all the fights, the stealing, or the trespassing, all that comes, or at least in Chicago, and that's why I want to ask you, all that's on security, especially armed security. Okay, because we always mistaken as a real police officer. 95% of the time, if you armed security, people are gonna think you're a real police officer. And guess what? If the people think, the criminals think.
Yeah, I think that, I've made this distinction. You know, Number one, it's important for security guards it's a double-edged sword. It's two sides of a coin, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have to know and you have to be completely okay with the fact that you're not a police officer.
Yeah.
In no
100%.
way, shape, or form. You're not a cop. However, the people that are, if you're working at a bank, the person that wants to come in and rob that bank,
Yep.
they know that you're not a cop, but they see you as the only thing that stands between them and that money.
Mm-hmm.
If you work at a grocery store, you're doing security, they know you're not a cop, but you're the only person that's there to keep them from robbing that till.
Yep.
If you're working at, a Section 8 housing or an apartment, or you're working at a warehouse, they know you're not a cop, but you're the guy with the gun that's there. So,
Yeah. Pretty much.
you have to always understand what your role is, and your role is security, and you have to be comfortable and confident in knowing that you are a security guard and you're only a security guard. But the negative fate that will come to a cop in a negative situation will still fall on your shoulders as a security guard. So you got to know that too.
Definitely. So I wanted to ask you a question. So, as a security guard in Portland, how do you and the police interact with each other on a daily basis? If it's from due to a situation you guys meeting up, or just a friendly, you're at your post and they riding past. Like, how is the interaction between you and the police?
I think that for me, like, clearly, I don't think there's any question that I'm a pretty confident person. Most of the cops that are here in Portland are younger than I am.
Yeah.
There was a mass exodus of police officers, in 2020. So
Same.
most of the new hires are younger. Our police department is vastly understaffed. I think that we have one police officer per 1,000 people. So it's really, really understaffed. So um, I will say that my interaction with police officers now is a lot different than it was 3 years ago.
Okay.
3 years ago, I feel like I came into working in security with a little bit more of a chip on my shoulder
Was
because
this before pandemic or just
no,
going
this was
into
like
pandemic?
this was like right, May, June of 2020. I think that I came in with more of a chip on my shoulder because before I moved to Portland, I had already gone through my testing. I had gone through my physical, and I was
Okay.
up for my oral board for the police department where I lived.
Hmm.
So I had done that, and I had given up that opportunity to move out here to Portland. So when I came to Portland, I had applied for Multnomah County Sheriff's Department, and I was pretty far in the pipeline.
Yeah.
So when I was working security, like the first, 3 to 6 months, I'm kind of like, I'm former military. I had a job lined up in the police department back where I'm from. I'm in the pipeline for Multnomah County. Like, I'm just doing this to be doing this until. So I kind of had a negative attitude towards cops, and I was real. I think I think I had a chip on my shoulder.
Yeah.
But
Pretty
once
something
I
to prove. Pretty much.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so that led to me having some really negative interactions. I had one interaction with a police officer when I was first working as a security guard, and I didn't make a video about it because I had a lot of cops within our company at the time
Okay.
that pulled me back because we had a situation where this was right when the defund the police movement was starting.
Hmm.
So we had a guy that had threatened to pull a gun on me, had kind of menaced that he had a gun. And right when this whole situation was happening, a police officer drove by.
Wow.
So a second security guard flags down the police officer
Yeah.
and says, "Hey, this guy that's going at it with my partner, he assaulted someone inside the store. He threatened to burn the store down. He's making motions like he has a firearm. He says he's going to shoot this guy." The cops just kind of drove over and looked and just was like,
Whatever. Right.
me and the cop get into an argument, and the cop said, "Get your manual out and figure out what imminent threat is," or something like that.
And that's common. Just disrespect.
Right.
Yeah.
So I said, "Hey, I wouldn't want you to give me any advice because I don't want to put you out. I wouldn't want you to have to do your job. And so he like swings the door. He swings the door open and he gets out and he kind of like bucks up on me. So I said, let me get this straight. I'm in uniform. I'm working. We flag you down and you won't get off your fucking ass. But I say something that upsets you and now you're going to get out of your car.
Yeah.
So now we start going back and forth. Long story short, he says to me, I could tell you that I was going to fucking shoot you and there's not a goddamn thing you can do about it. And I said, you know what? You're right. And that's the exact problem that everybody has with this police department and why this fucking city's on fire.
Wow.
So we go back and forth. And I made a comment to the people that were on my team and they were all former cops. I said, I want this guy's fucking name. I want his ass. I want his badge. Blah, 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 blah. I'm all extra being all crazy.
Yeah, that's nice.
And the older retired cops were like, stop. You don't want this. You don't want to go down this road. Like nothing positive is going to come from it. And I was so offended.
Yeah.
And I took it as all of these white cops telling the black security guard, you know what I mean, to calm down. And I was so emotionally hurt.
Yeah, because you thought you had backup. You thought
Right.
your fellow guards was going to help you out,
but what I've learned over time,
yeah,
is that these guys knew that that cop wasn't going to last. They knew that if during that time and in that situation and working in security, you know this, we're alone, we're by ourselves.
pretty much.
And there have been times from that point in time all the way up to now, whether they've responded fast enough or not, whether they've shown up and done what I needed them to do, that interaction, this goes back to your initial question, that interaction between the police, it's necessary. It's a symbiotic relationship. You need those police to show up because you don't have the authority to go any further than that initial contact, potentially that detainment of a person that's done something that's illegal or egregious, right? But you need the police to be there to take it to that next step.
Yeah.
And if it's something that's life threatening or something that is, way over the top, there's a level at which our authority and our scope, it ends. And these people that were in my company, these team members, they knew that if I went down this path of trying to get this guy back or punish this guy, specifically in the situation of 2020 and what that looked like here, and I labeled myself as a troublemaker.
Yeah, that you might be targeted in. Yeah, something.
It's no might be. I mean, I work with homeless, drug addict people with nothing to lose, and it's like,
yeah, and that was gonna be my second question. What is the situation like? What is the reason why companies and people are hiring security in Portland? Let's just say you. What do you think?
Let me just say this to finish that point. You need the police.
You do.
You don't in your former military. You were in the Army.
Yep, Army.
Were you an officer or enlisted?
Enlisted.
Okay. You don't always respect the second lieutenant. Second lieutenant comes out of college or second lieutenant comes out of the academy.
Yep.
They generally don't know shit. And they're younger than you, right?
Pretty much.
You respect the rank. You don't respect that person.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I had to learn with police is that they have a job to do and they have an authority vested in them by the state. And that is what gets the respect. The person behind that badge is irrelevant. And that person behind the badge is a human. They're fallible. And so am I. I had a lot of growing to do, and it made me see things from a different perspective. And my interaction with the police since then has been way more amicable. I joke with the police. I kid with them. I show them the absolute utmost respect. When they show up to a site, I give them just the facts of what happened, and I back up. I let them do their investigation. I let them do what they're doing. I ask for their business card. I ask for the case number, and that's it. I don't get overly involved. I don't get in their way. I try to stay in my lane, and I do that respectfully. In terms
Okay,
of,
so oh, I'm
go ahead.
sorry. So if let's say if you was witnessing a police officer just abuse his power, right then and there in front of your post, what would you do in that situation?
Well,
Would you step in and intervene, or would you just observe and report?
it depends if they're abusing their powers and it falls within the post of what I'm doing. So specifically, I work at a large retail grocery store, right? For the
Okay.
most part, that or a large national chain of banks. If there's a cop abusing his power at that bank with an employee, that might be a reason for me to speak up because my job is to protect those employees. If
Okay.
it's a customer, my job is to protect those customers, but it has to fall within the scope of my authority. When you're working as a security guard, you're working in a very, very, very small area, a very small window,
Mhm.
right? Things that do not fall within the scope of my authority or the scope of that contract, I don't get involved in. Now, my job as a security guard is to observe and report. If I observe something that's illegal or I observe something that's unethical, my job is to report that.
Mm.
It's not to get into that argument with that cop.
Right.
It's not to get into a pissing contest or a dick measuring contest with that police officer. What I'm going to do potentially in that situation is document what I saw and then report that. Report that to my supervisor. Report that to the location where I'm working. Report that to the governing body. Report that to the ACLU. Report that to the news, right? But
Yeah.
too many times, security guards are seeing something or dealing with something that is outside of the scope. Your job is to watch this door. That's
Yeah.
it. Your job is
Yeah.
to watch this door, watch the
Yeah.
door, watch the door. Down
And
at the end of the block, a cop is doing something and you're within earshot. You see it, you hear it, you witness it. And then the security guard wants to interject himself into that, walks away from the door down the block,
the
and then
policy will
having
go
the
out
issue
the
with that
window.
cop.
Yeah.
That's not within the scope of what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Because now at that point you're totally like leaving your post. But I was saying, like you said, a few seconds ago. Now, if it's like right outside your door, like you said, at a grocery chain, and you at the door and you witness this police officer abuse his power, then I totally get what you're saying, though.
Yeah.
Because I had totally, well, last summer I had a incident like that. I was working at a health clinic up north, and it was just three cops. They just hopped out, man, and they was just, in my opinion, they was just overdoing their power. They was all good to go. The kids, they had their license and everything, and then they wanted to, further harass them. And I knew they was harassing them because they was laughing, and I heard some jokes. So I felt like at that moment it was just for me just to say something just to help those kids out, because you do have those people out there that has these interactions with police officers, wishing somebody with a little bit of power authority like we do, just a little bit, that can at least say something to them and help them out. So I felt like at that moment it was for me to step in and just to say, hey, you guys, they good to go, they all Charlie, let them go. And then, when I intervened, that's when it just it just turned into something else. Luckily it was just verbal, and he was just basically throwing insults at security profession. Hey, I get paid more than you, which we don't, and all this other stuff. So, but the good thing I got out of that situation, the people that was getting harassed, they looked so they just looked so happy somebody was able to help them, you know. And I felt good about myself, and that's what gave me more confidence in this profession, because the public really needs us, and in my opinion, in Chicago at least, the public trusts security more because we're in that middle line of being a civilian and law enforcement. We're right in the middle.
Well, you
So
have you have a beautiful opportunity when you work in security to be around the people that are going to be affected at that moment. So if you're working at a clothing store, or you're
Right.
working at a bank or a dispensary, the people that are going to end up interacting with the police officers, maybe in some sort of bad situation, you're literally around them all the time. The cops are having a arrival and then interact and then leave, and you're around these people all the time. So your ability to affect them and have a more positive rapport with them is greater. Um, the situation that you're talking about, without a lot of context, it's hard to really speak on it. But I will say that I think that and it's funny that you're bringing this up, because this is one of the things that I just talked to these retired police officers about. The best thing that you and I can do, especially as Black men working in the security industry,
Yeah.
we have interaction with police officers and we have interaction with the public. We need to do a better job as Black security guards of bridging that gap between the people and the cops.
Yep.
Having conversations with the cops and saying, like, look, these are some of the concerns that the people in my neighborhood or my location, every time the cops come down here, this is what we're dealing with. This is what I'm seeing. I'm working security. I'm on my post, and I'm seeing X, Y, and Z. And this is how the cops are handling it. And this is how the people in the community are seeing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the flip side, you should be taking that opportunity to talk to the people in that location. Hey, I know, and again, I literally just had this conversation with 3 60-year-old white cops. I just did before you got on here. And I was like, there's a historical relationship between the police department and the Black
Black
community.
community. Yeah.
So like, even if Officer Billy is just doing his job, when he shows up, there's a relationship that's already like ingrained in the history. And if Billy doesn't understand that when he's talking to this person and how that's coming across, it creates a bigger issue. Like, that's where you and I can be a good advocate on both sides and try and help that situation before it gets to the point that insults are being levied and people are potentially in a situation where their life might be at risk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when you're asking, like, what would you do as a guard? I'm having my interaction way before the situation happens and trying to help calm that situation a little bit.
Okay. I like right here. Thank you. I definitely totally agree with you on that one. But like I said, I know you said you don't have that much time, but just if you can answer my last question. So,
Yeah.
what are you guys dealing with over in Portland, man? I wish we can. I wish I can come visit. Due to the laws, the gun laws and stuff. I wish I can come visit your site and you can come visit my site, man, because that Portland and Chicago connection will be great just for a lot of experience. But I just wanted to get, what are you guys really dealing with over there? Because I know the last video that you really updated about the situation was, I think you was dealing with the riots, and you was informing people on the gas mask gear and everything.
Oh man, that's old stuff.
Yeah.
So what are we dealing with here? We are dealing with, I don't know if you paid attention, but the last couple of videos I've uploaded have been
Yeah.
interviews that I've done with Fox News.
Okay. Yeah, I saw the yeah, but I saw it. Yeah, I saw it.
So, our issue here is that is being masqueraded as a homeless problem. So, they have legalized methamphetamine, they legalized marijuana, they legalized heroin, all Schedule 1 narcotics. If it's a small enough amount,
Wow.
it's non-criminalized or decriminalized, which means that it's legal. So since we have legalized drugs, that means you're going to have drug dealers, and you're going to have cartels that have moved in, because now, since we have such lackadaisical homeless laws and we tax the Oregon residents to no end, and we give ungodly amounts of money to our homeless demographic. We have people that are addicted to drugs who are getting state subsidized finances every month, and they're able to utilize that to buy drugs. When the money runs out, they're able to shoplift with impunity, and that's what they do. So, retailers here in Portland are closing their doors left and right because they tried to mitigate the situation by hiring security. But now, when you hire security and security detains people that are shoplifting or robbing the store, we have an activist district attorney that won't prosecute them. So it's become a situation where, criminality is just there's no way to deal with it.
Yeah,
The
that's the
cops
norm.
can't deal with it. Security can't deal with it. Um, Basically, people are hiring private security to work in these locations, and the only goal is to make sure that the staff and the customers aren't assaulted or aren't falling victims to a mass shooting. So it's a very depressing time out here, man.
Yeah,
What's it like in Chicago? We all hear about how bad Chicago is. Is it that bad? Is it really that bad?
man. It's the mid. They call it the Midwest, but honestly, it's almost like the Wild Wild West, man. Chicago is. I've been here my whole life, man, and it's just these past 3 years, and especially now, man, it's just been really just depressing. Especially this past year, we're dealing with, like you said, we lost police at a rapid number, um, due to retirement or due to police officers just going into different suburbs due to the long hours they had to work. So, and then you have these new police officers that's coming out that got to be 21, 22. And honestly, from what I got from the public, man, nobody just respect them because they always on this and or they just look so young. But and actually 2 days ago, a cop just got killed. I'm sorry to hear that, but a female officer just got killed, and it's due to we have a gun problem, a big, huge gun problem. Everybody can get a gun, like just because we are Republican borders, and Indiana is 20 minutes from my house right here, so anybody can just cross, go to a gun show, purchase all these guns, and funnel them right back to Chicago.
Yeah.
So that's one of the biggest problems, man. And then you got these teenagers due to the Safety Act that you won't get processed for certain crimes. So if you commit a you know armed robbery, a certain degree of murder, you can post bond and get the same day and get released. You know, so due to some of these laws, man, like people are going crazy. Another thing we have in a lot of armed robberies, carjackings. There you go, carjackings. Um, Last year, what 16,000 cars got jacked. So I think this year we up to 1,600 already. So a lot of people are, you know, cars are just getting took away from 'em just like that, all because these kids want to joyride and commit crimes and everything. And I think that's probably the only two biggest things we have is really the gun crisis and the vehicles. Other than that, um, we really don't have too much of a drug problem. Because weed is legal up here,
Yeah.
but it's really honestly is the guns, man, and um that's why I humble myself when I'm just at work. I'm always aware, and confident, and still having that security demeanor. But at the same time, you just don't know who will pull a gun out on you. Like this, you have kids that's 9 years old, and I'm not kidding you. They can be in uh fifth, sixth grade. We talking about with the Glocks with the switch on. You know what the switch is?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's that easy to get a gun, man. So that's the biggest problem. And now the kids up here, they don't fight anymore. You know, they have this quick access to talk to each other, to send each other the location off these phones, and that's what leads to the murder rate. Or they post in their location at their house, grandma house, wherever they always hanging at, and guess what happened? Boom, drive by.
Shut up.
Innocent kids get killed. Family. So that's what raised the murder rate in Chicago, man. It's
Let
just
me
that
ask you a question. Like, how do you handle your, like, how do you keep your emotions and your mental state balanced dealing with all that?
I just always go back to I was raised and I grew up here. And I always just have that thought in the back of my mind. Maybe it can go back to normal. You know, I'm always fighting. You know, is this the new norm? Is this how my city is now? Is this the title we giving out to the world now? You know that we're just this murder capital city. You know, I have a lot of friends who are just scared to come to Chicago, man. Like they're scared. But honestly, man, it's the violence. It moved downtown, and that's what is really messing. I'm glad you uh asked me that question because that's what is really messing with my mental right now. You know, downtown used to be a place of peace. You know, where tourists can come and everything. Now you have to be more aware downtown than when you go into the neighborhoods because simply everybody is a walking duck down there. You have tourists, you have other people who don't believe in guns, you have all these other, moms, whatever, old people. So I just try to keep my mental state, whereas, maybe it can go back to normal one day. Maybe we can get the right, leadership in the city, far as the police to the mayor's office in to come up with a better plan. And
Let me ask you this. What do you think the plan is? How do you turn Chicago from what it is right now into what it could be?
in my opinion, more security. And that's why honestly, and that's just because everybody is so worried about their safety up here. And that will be the biggest problem solver just a little bit, just to patch in until they deal with this whole police crisis, because it's a huge crisis up here. People don't want to be the police. So I believe if people were to like hire armed security on the L's, we can't have armed security on the L's for some reason. It's only armed, which I get it, but it's not smart because that's where mostly all the violence goes. At especially when the tourist comes. So honestly, I would think if the city allow more businesses to put armed security where we can deter the crime and and show them that hey, we're the first line, then the police come, that would be the biggest thing. But right now it's just okay, we know this place is empty. We know this place is empty. We know, okay, the 50 cops over here that showed up for a shooting or a crash. So we're going to go over here now. It's just wow. It's really crazy. And technology don't make it any better just because you can share it instantly, you know?
I can see that. I mean, yeah, yeah.
So I think that will be my biggest solve problem solving to this situation, just to hire just more private security like me and you are, because I can one thing say, man, once they see an armed guard right there, the whole I have probably encountered one time when the person just felt some type of way because he saw a black dude with a gun. But other than that, man, it just deters the situation down so fast. And you don't even have to say anything. You can just come in and use your presence in situations or, common problems like, people in front of the store or the clinic that don't need to be there. If they just see your presence, man, it deters it. And then guess what? That whole neighborhood starts to clean up because now you have the neighbors on the block. Hey, we got a security guard down there, or we got this. So possibly, if the police don't come, we can run to him. You know,
Well,
going
I think that's definitely that's a perspective, and it's an option. And you know what I think that is more important is that we need people to start coming up with a solution. Right?
yep.
We don't know what the solution is, but you are offering a solution, and we need more people to offer a solution.
Hmm.
In Chicago and in Portland, my solution here in Portland is to use my voice and use my reach and my platform to talk about the things that are important to me. And, you know, I hope that you will continue to do the same, and hopefully that we will inspire more people to do that. Specifically, when it comes to security guards,
Yeah.
I would like to see more security guards across the country just speaking out because they see
And take
things
it serious.
from the
Yeah.
yeah, they see things from that bottom level. You're there and you're around it. So
Yeah. You're
gotta
in it. You're
support.
actually seeing this stuff happen. Right.
Well, did this was this what you were hoping for?
Yeah, this was what I was hoping for, man. You actually kind of blew my mind, man. I did not know they legalized heroin and meth in Portland. I don't know how a man-made drug kills the body. I guess do that falls under some type of medical situation or
Man,
that is wow.
I could go downstairs to the bottom of this building and go to the end of the street that my building is on, like
Yeah.
30 yards, and turn my camera to the right, and it would blow your mind what it's like out here. It's insane. It's insane. But you know what? I'm off today and I got to do the things that I wanted to do. I got to
Yeah.
train
Yeah.
today. I got to talk to you. I got to meet with these former police officers, and you know, we're
Yeah.
making some content. I'm going to have lunch with my wife. I'm sure she's downstairs waiting on me. So,
Let you go
uh,
for it, man.
hey man,
I really appreciate this
yeah,
opportunity and thank you, man. And let's stay in contact. You know, I'll keep you updated on Chicago and whenever you have time, you can kind of keep me updated situation in Portland.
absolutely, man. You're always welcome to reach out to me, man. We'll do this anytime. Okay.
All right, thanks, man.
All right. Take care, bro.